Hey, what up, people? How's it going? This is Bharat here. Welcome back to yet another video. I'm actually very excited to talk to you guys about primarily the next upcoming big server-side scripting framework, which is Deno. We did learn about Deno in the previous video, but this video, I'm going to be showing you guys probably the fastest way to create REST APIs using Deno, which is a TypeScript based programming framework. That's what we're going to be looking at in this video. Let's get this video started straight away. All right, so let's get this thing started. Like I told you, we're going to be looking into two major concepts before we dive deep into how to create REST APIs faster. So the first concept is that this is going to be written in a TypeScript language. So it might be looking a little bit overwhelming if you're directly coming from JavaScript and you find the syntax that will be different, but do not worry much about that. I also don't know much about TypeScript. I'm just learning as I go, and it's the better way to do it as well, because you're going to be learning the framework, you're going to learn how easy it is, and as we go we'll also pick up on the syntax and everything as of that. Now, the next point is that we're also going to be making use of the concept of routers and middlewares. Very simple concept. It is being extensively used with Node. So if you're jumping from Node to your Deno, trying to learn Deno, you'll find it very easier. If for those who do not know, routing and middleware are very simple concepts, where there's a user request that comes in and the user has to get a response. So whatever you do in between is going to be the work of a middleware. So now the middleware can also delegate jobs, or it can route jobs. For example, the user wants to pick a service A, and the middleware is the logic behind this entire stuff, where it will route the user request A to the possible answer that user has to get. So it's going to be routing A to say location A. It's going to route the user's request for B to location C, something like that. So that's going to be how routing is going to work, and exactly that's the same concept again here. So you will find it a little bit easier as I go dive deep. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously import, and we're going to be importing the concept, the module called as application. Is obviously the first line of any program, but since we're going to be making use of an application here, we'll be using what is called as Oak. So Oak is a standardized library that's available with Deno, where you can actually make use of this Oak and create your own middleware. So let's say I'm going to be importing with this URL. So as you know, it's automatically going to cache. So I've actually opened the URL here. So as you can see, it's having the TS file that it requires, and automatically going to cache it in our local. Don't have to worry about the package manager and stuff like that. You can, okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we have actually opened up our application. The next thing we're going to do is create a simple variable for that. That's going to be app application, and we're going to be making use of the await. Let's maybe have a port is equal to 8000. I like 8001 much better. So let's have the port 8001, and the final thing that we're going to do is make use of the await, or the app.await, where we're saying await app.listen, await app.listen for the port. So what we can do, I'm going to give it like this. Anyway, all right, now we can print to the console saying print say the server is running well. So this would mean that we have created an application, we have opened up the application in the port 8001 in our localhost. Let's see if it runs properly. Just go here, and you need to type, most importantly, this is a very important step, you need to give allow net, and we're going to type server.ts. So it's automatically going to, as soon as you type that, you find that the server is running well, but it says there is nothing for me to actually use. I have an application, but what am I going to route? If the user comes and hits a routing point, an endpoint like localhost colon 8001, I don't have anything to show to the user. So that's actually a very valid request that the Deno is actually telling us. There is no middleware to process the request at all, which is very valid, right? So what we're going to do now is create our first router, and let's see how that works. So what we're going to do is again create a new file. Let me go and create a file. I'll call it the router or routes.ts. All right, I've created that. Now we're going to be using the Oak middleware again. We're going to say import, this time the router from the same as we did here. We picked it from here. We'll make use of this and we'll throw it in here. And what we're going to do is now create a simple, again, a variable called as a router is equal to router, and we can now set routes for the use of this, for the entire thing to show. Or we can also do is just create a router basically and throw it back to the user. We can say export the router variable. Basically you're going to say that export the router variable, you're going to say export the default router variable. So we are saying that it's actually making it accessible for everything. It's a very simple, again, concept of I'll also explain why I'm splitting it into two files. Let's go here. We'll now, what we do is we'll import the router from TS, or I think this should be fine. Now we have the router here. We are now going to be making use of the app.use router.routes. Now the router.routes is going to be taking care of making sure that everything that you're typing inside the router, whatever it is going to be, it is going to be handled by the server. Next thing also is to allow everything that the router has, to make sure that you are allowing every method. So we can say that allowed methods. So these are a couple of lines that are required, and it's going to be making sure that which obviously allowing the routes, whatever routes we have, it's asking it to allow, and again asking it to allow all methods on this on these routes. Let's go and run it again to see what happens. We're checking. Oh, I missed the allowed methods. Let's run it again. All right, so now it's running, the service is running. It's now time to go and hit our local host here. Local host 8001. Pretty much running. I can see it's running, and that's nothing crashing, but we won't have anything to show to the user. Now is the time to create our REST API. How are you going to do that? The answer is very simple. Now we need to give something for the user. Say, let's say I want to type here, I'm going to type API/v1/response or something like that. If I type here, I should be able to get a response from the server, and that's how REST APIs work. So let's try and do that with our the demo. So what we're going to do is now create our router, and we have a router variable. Now let's start routing to the specific specific place. We know what route we have to give, what route that the user is going to hit, and for whatever user's route that hits, we need to give it an equivalent response. So that's possible. First of all, we need to do is call the get operator on the router, and we're going to, here is the place where we define the routes. We're going to say, so what we do here, we said API again v1 and response. Now this is the route user, that's user's route. Now what should be the response for that? We can directly actually write our response here, but it might look a little bit clumsy. So let's modularize it a little bit more. We'll call something called as a controller. So the three things that we learned here are: the server is going to be where the stuff hits, and the router is where the user's requests are processed, and the controller is where the actual response is going to be rendered. So let's go over it again. So the route server starting here, we have the routers created, and the controller is where we're going to be making use, or we're going to be returning the user's data. So I'll just create a very simple method here. Let's create a method called as get server response, and the construction or the syntax, it's pretty much easier to do it. So what we can do is we're going to take a method like this, and it's going to say response colon, and we need to give the response as any. We're going to define what the data type is going to be, followed by what's going to be the method body. So the method body is going to be response dot body, and we're going to say a couple of things here. We're going to say, tell the user that the success was true, followed by the data that the user is going to get. It will be like this is the entire server response. So what we're trying to say is, let the user know that we have something called as we are actually hitting the base library. We're going to be giving the user this data, and as well as saying that the routing is successful. So that's pretty much what we're doing. So let's actually make sure that we're exporting this. That's very important one. Do not forget export, or you will be all right. That's it. All right, we're done. Let's go to the routes portion and make sure that we're importing our. Awesome, it automatically that did it for us. Now is where we're gonna say get server response, and we're just gonna leave it at that. It's gonna be calling this method internally, a method call. Okay, this is going to be the stuff here. So what exactly have we done? You have said v1, this is going to be the route that the user is going to hit, and when the user hits this route, we're going to be rendering this response through this method. So we go in this method, it's going to say this is the entire server response, and our REST API is constructed. So that's pretty much it. We've written it in under, I don't know, 29 lines. All right, let's go and check if our server is running. Make sure to kill it and start it again. .ts. Cool. Okay, we have done it. We have actually now trying to hit this location. Let's do it. Awesome, right? We have created the response. We have created this REST API. We are hitting the REST API and it's also giving us the response. Alright, so the point is that you can create as many routes as you want. You can create as many requests that you want, and it's very simple. Also, one more thing that I wanted to share with you guys was that it's going to be really secure as well. You don't have to worry about security. For example, let's run the same thing again. Let's run the Deno.server now, this time without the hello net command. So what happens is that it says its permission is denied. You cannot access the 8001 at all unless I give the flag that the allow net flag is set. So unless you do that, nobody can access your service, nobody can access your server, and that's actually very good. So that's going to be making your life so much easier. You don't have to worry about creating another set of middleware to make sure that the request is proper, it's authenticated, and all that. That's all. It's going to be extremely useful as we go along. We learn new stuff as well. I'm also trying to learn. I'll make sure that I'll help you guys also learn. Pretty much that's it for this video. Hope I didn't take so much of your time. We created a very simple REST API under probably 8-9 minutes, and that's how powerful Deno is. It's going to be powerful as for the time and months to come. So let me meet you guys in the next video, something useful and informative. Until then, Bharat, peace out. Have a super awesome day.